Welcome back to the Webby O'Neill channel. With me today is Paul Scholes. Paul, absolute pleasure to have you here. I'm back again. I've got to jump straight in. 12 games in, Paul. Looking at that table, United are 6, but who's going to win that league based on the 12 games you've seen?
I'm afraid it looks like Man City, innit? I just don't see anybody getting close to them. I know they've stuttered a couple of times with a couple of bad results, but I think once they get going back after this international break, I think it'll be difficult to stop.
United in 6th place. What all I've heard is teams now moaning. Tottenham, Newcastle, injuries, as though it's affecting him. Why is it the media just focus on United and say nothing about the injuries when they're drooling over Newcastle and Tottenham and saying, oh dear, it's injuries, this is why they're losing?
Because we're the biggest club in the world. People are jealous. But you're exactly right. These teams like Newcastle, they're having an amazing season. We're what are we?
6th?
7 points off top of the league.
Yeah.
Performances have to improve, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
It's not been great to watch, but I think we won the last 4 out of the last 5 games. We know there's a big gap when it comes to the likes of City. Other teams, I just think it's not much of a muchness. Obviously, Liverpool are decent, Arsenal are decent, but Man United should be in that fight for the top 4, and I still think they will be come the end of the season.
But we're not allowed excuses, are we, Paul?
Exactly, we're not. No. Biggest club in the world. As I say, everyone wants to knock us down. Everyone wants to put us down. And we've had so many injuries. And the manager said that. He emphasises all the time how much he wants a settle back 4 and a holding midfield player. He's not been able to pick a settle back 4 all season. Or a holding midfield player. You think of Amrabat came in late. Casemiro's picked up an injury. It's just not been right for him. And I'm hoping once you get back from this international break, you get a nice 3 months running the Premier League. You can get a settled team and performances improve.
You talk about a settled team and a back 4. Raphael Varane, Johnny Evans getting picked in front of him. What do you make of that, Paul? He's a World Cup winner.
I know, it's worrying. I don't think Varane is probably in the best shape he's ever been in, but he's not played games. I think the Galatasaray game, it was quite poor actually. But the pedigree he's got, he's a safe bet in the Premier League. If he's fit with them 4 centre halves we've got, in my opinion, he has to play. But I think the manager wanted to get his best footballing centre halves in that position. He feels at the minute that's Maguire and Evans. Whether that's right or what, I'm not too sure.
You mentioned Maguire there. In the summer, looks as though he was on his way out, possibly West Ham. He said he wanted to stay and fight for his place. Erik ten Hag said he's quite happy to have him around. Did you expect Harry Maguire to be playing as good as he is?
It's so difficult to tell. Well, listen, I think we've got 4 centre halves now that if any 2 of them play, do you know what I mean? It's more much of a muchness, if you know what I mean. I think you could choose any of the 2 and think, yeah, it's all right. It's not the best and it's not brilliant. It's not enough to go and win Premier Leagues or challenge for Premier Leagues. It's just all right, and I just think that's the way it is.
When you say it's just all right, is that based on, because we've got injuries like to Martinez, we've had injuries to Varane, Luke Shaw, you know, all this.
Luke Shaw's a big miss. I think it gives you real balance on the left-hand side. He gets you up the pitch as well with his pace. I think he's been a huge miss. I'm not sure if the right-back's good enough, to be honest with you, Darlow, when it comes to the big games. I'm not sure his character is strong enough to handle them big games. I think Wan-Bissaka can do. Defensively, not a problem. Going forwards, he has improved in that, don't get me wrong, but still, I just think the balance of the team has been a little bit wrong.
Harry Maguire, back in the team, playing football. Has he got a long-term future here based on what the assessment was that he was 5th choice at the start of the season? Is his future really here, Paul?
That's up to him, I suppose. That's how he performs in this next 6 months, I suppose. But no, it was clear the manager didn't want him at the club. And you can understand because form hadn't been that good. He was probably on a lot of money. He wasn't playing for the team. So you can understand it. And as I say, if anybody comes in his place, I don't think it makes a huge improvement anyway.
Yeah.
With the centre halves we have. I know people talk about Martinez being out. Don't get me wrong, great character, great personality, but the manager was also leaving him out at times as well and bringing him off at times. So I think centre half is a problem position for him and one he'll probably have to a good look at for next year.
Spoke with Gary Neville a couple of weeks ago. He turned round. raised a few eyebrows with this quote, that Bruno is world class and that he would get into any Manchester United side in history. But on a side note, he did say he wouldn't get in front of you.
Thanks, guys. What are you asking me? Do I agree with that?
World class. Would he get in any side? Manchester United.
I think he's a really talented lad. Yeah, would he get in? I'm trying to think who he'd play off, and you think of who would play instead of. You think of the positions of Teddy Sheringham and Dwight York. These types of players who probably play that number 10 position. I think Yorkie and Teddy probably played that 10 position a little bit better than he did. He's brilliant, he's talented, he'll take a risk, he'll score goals, of course he will. I think he needs to play his position better, or be in his position a lot more than he is. The amount of times I see him getting the ball off centre halves, getting the ball in the right back position, we know he can do all that. He's capable of doing that. But I think that affects the team going forward. And you think of a young player we've signed in Højlund. This is a kid who's 20 years of age, playing up front on his own. He needs help. He needs the experience of Bruno next to him to almost play as a two sometimes. And this, I always talk about partnerships in teams. Whether it's the right side, you think of Gary Neville and David Beckham, the left side, Dennis Irwin or Phil Neville with Ryan Giggs, the two midfield players, two centre halves, partnerships that you know what you're going to do. And we always had forwards who could be players of number 10. Andy Cole can play up front on his own. Ruud van Nistelrooy can play up front on his own. But at times you become a partnership. And I don't think that partnership in any area of the pitch is there. And that means your team won't play great football. And that's what we're seeing at the minute.
By not having partnerships in certain places on the pitch, is that actually affecting Højlund? He's not scored in the Premier League. So is he not getting the service based on Bruno not always being in the position? The wingers, is that what's contributing to the lack of goals from Højlund?
He's a big, strong lad with pace. He looks to me like he has everything to be a top-class centre-forward. I think he's got the movement to do it. He missed a really good chance on Saturday. He's a little bit in an awkward position for him, but if things are going for you, it does bounce off you and go in the goal. And I think there's a lot of pressure on the kid. You think of the teams Manchester United have had, they've always had 3 or 4 centre-forwards who can score 25, 30 goals. They've almost got one now, a 20-year-old kid who has come without a real proven goal-scoring track record. Now, he needs help. As I say, Fernandes needs to play in that 10 position more. He needs to get close to him. He needs to help him. He needs to try and find some kind of partnership, and the pressure's on him. He's got wide players around him who don't cross the ball. He looks to me like he is a centre-forward that wants crosses. He's got clever movement and crosses. He on Saturday against Luton for his chance, some really good movement. He checked, moved the lad out of the way and got in. That's why he was clear. Now, you've got Marcus Rashford, just wants to cut inside and shoot. You got Anthony playing at times, Garnacho. They're goals, almost trying to be goal-scoring wide players who, at the minute, really aren't scoring goals, but they don't provide crosses either. When Luke Shaw comes back, he'll be a big bonus. I think he will cross the ball getting forward. I think Darlow is capable of crossing the ball if he gets in positions. I worry about him in big games. I don't think defensively in his character, I don't think it's strong enough to cope with big games. So, look, Højlund needs help. There's no doubt about that. Where's the other centre-forward? You think of Martial. Doesn't play a game. I'm going back to our teams having 4 forwards. You're looking at 100 goals a season. 80, maybe 20 goals a season you guarantee on average between the 4 of them. Where's that in the team? It's just not there anymore.
Mason Mount, stop-start. That's how I look at how it started here at Manchester United. What's his position, Paul?
Good question. I don't know. I think he'd ideally like to play where Fernandes does. Bruno Fernandes, which is probably all over the pitch. And I think the manager signed him as an attacking midfield player, as one of the 3, as one of the attackers, but it upsets the balance of the team. It upsets the legs he has in midfield. And I really think he wanted to play him with Bruno Fernandes, but the 2 of them playing in the team, it just doesn't seem to be working now.
A lot of people have said he wasn't the priority signing. You're not sure of where he plays, and I think many other people are. It looks like Erik ten Hag is the same. What can you do as Bruno's there, Mason Mount? Which one of them should be on there?
It's difficult to make a case for Mason because he's not played any games. So trying to come on here saying he should be playing every, I don't know, because he hasn't played. If he has a run of 5, 6, 7, 8 games, then you can judge that a little bit more.
Can you not judge it on the style, Paul? What is the style? He signed Mason Mount. Someone is in his position, like Bruno.
The style's a big thing they're talking about, but it's almost, you have to get the balance of the team right as well. And that's where the big struggle has been. I think Ten Hag wants to play as many attackers as he possibly can on a football pitch, which would mean one holding player and the rest of them attacking players, which Mason Mount would come into that. But it takes away the legs in midfield. It really leaves them open in midfield with McTominay bombing forward. Eriksen's a really good player. He's the brains, really. He's a clever player that plays in the middle of the pitch, but his legs aren't great. He doesn't play the position that well. So to bring someone like Mason Mount into the team, he almost needs 2 holding midfield players with him to get the balance of the team right.
Look at the Champions League. Some poor results there, Paul. How do you see that going further?
It's an uphill struggle. Really poor performance. I always say in the Champions League, you've got to win your home games. You know, Galatasaray at home was a really poor performance. Even Copenhagen wasn't that great. We got lucky with the keeper saving the penalty in the last minute, and we probably should have been behind in that game with the chances they created. So, look, going away to them places, go away to Copenhagen, go away to Galatasaray, go away to Bayern Munich, you can always lose them games. You can lose any games in the Champions League away from home. It's always difficult, and we found that. And look, it's going to be really tough going to Galatasaray. And winning will be hard. We've seen that before. We couldn't beat them at home, so going away from home is going to be very difficult.
Yeah, well, I listened to lots of United fans talking about the Champions League, that it looks like the next 2 games so hard. Go to Galatasaray away, Bayern Munich at home. The alternative, Paul, is dropping down into the Europa League. Many Manchester United fans are saying they prefer to stay out of that, and it'd be beneficial to have a clear run and get this team and get a style and try and perform going forward in the Premier League. Are you in favour of dropping out of that Europa League?
Yeah. I don't think it ever should be an option anyway. Failure from the champion, failure from one competition takes you into another one. That, look, it's Europa League, it's a chance to win a decent trophy. I wouldn't say it's one of the best trophies. We wouldn't class it as that. It's Manchester United. So playing on them Thursday to Sunday, I know it's exactly the same as playing Wednesday to Saturday, but it has an effect on you. I'd much rather them be free in the week. Obviously, I'd rather them qualify for the Champions League. That'd be a lot better. But no, I'd rather the team be free and ready for league games and try and get into that top 4.
We don't want it.
Yeah, I don't think I want it. No, it's not. Like I say, it's Manchester United.
Yeah.
Europa League is not. And I don't want to be snobby in that way. I don't know if you feel a bit snobby in that way, but it's Manchester United. They shouldn't be competing for the Europa League. Well, that's the position they're in now. Yeah. That's the way the team's performing. They're nowhere near good enough to even think about winning the Champions League, whether they get through or not. This group, and this is a group they should be sailing through, but they're a long way behind in quality from these teams.
You touched on Marcus Rashford, the way he was playing, the way he was cutting inside. If you look at his form last year and look how he's performing this year, cutting in, not putting the crosses in, his form isn't as good as last year. Are you surprised that he is actually in the England squad based on these performances last year to this year?
Well, if it was based on performances this year, then he probably wouldn't be in it. But Gareth likes him. I think the same with Maguire. He tends to pick players who sometimes are not really playing that well for the club. And look, there's no doubt Marcus is having a bad time at the minute. He's got a good goal for England against Italy, so no, he's always going to get picked. And I think he probably should do. But Marcus will come back to form. There's no doubt about that. It's a little confidence dip at the minute he's having here, but he's not the only one. Can you tell me a player who's playing well in this team?
No,
it's very difficult to
not on a regular basis.
No, it's very difficult to say that any player has been consistent in his performance, and that's running right through the team. And Mark is just a part of that. But eventually, he will find something, and I'm sure it'll be a big threat towards the end of the season.
You look at Erik Ten Hag under massive pressure from the media, unfairly. I think, unfairly, lots of Manchester United things about changing him. You know, how bad is this? How bad do you see this media pressure on Erik ten Hag based on everything what's going on in the club, around the club? How bad is that? I mean, I look at it and to me, it's a pylon and they're not looking at the big picture.
A pylon.
It is a pylon.
Yeah, I don't think it's been that bad, unless I've missed a lot of it. I don't think the pressure's been on him that much. I think certain results, say for Saturday example against Luton, then possibly more. But because of what's going on at the club, I don't think there's that much pressure on him. You think about it, it feels like he's getting no help. He's getting no representation from the club. It feels like he's the one sent out to the Lions all the time. He's the one doing interviews. He's the one defending the club. He's the one talking about the Glazers, Jim Ratcliffe, whatever it may be. And it must be taken away from his actually thoughts on the football pitch at times, because all that stuff is in the background. He's at a really unsettled club at the minute, and that can't be easy for a manager. All a manager wants to do is concentrate on his players, his staff, and make sure he's getting the best out of them every week. That isn't happening at the minute, and maybe that's something to do with what's going on in the background.
Well, you talk about the background, unsettled in and around the club. You know, Erik ten Hag with Jadon Sancho. Sancho came back at him. I mean, as a player, Paul, would you have come back at the manager in public like that? And what do you expect the scenario to end up like, Paul?
Well, with the manager I had, it had never been in public from the very first comment. Now, if the manager's not happy, he'll tell you himself.
Yeah.
He'll get you in his office and tell you. Now, I don't know the circumstances around him and Jadon Sancho's relationship, but it doesn't look great, and it has been aired in public, which is totally wrong. I don't think what the manager said was that bad. It was just a little warning that I want more from you. And then Jadon and his people, as they all have people now, have decided that was the best way to go around it. Which his gang of people, which is totally wrong. Look, I don't know what the relationship is now. It looks unlikely that he'll come back into the fold, I would have thought, and I would expect him to be gone in January.
You expect him to be gone? Yeah. A lot of Manchester United fans have been agreeing with that, Paul.
Which is sad, because he's such a talented player. Do you know what I mean? And we are missing creativity in wide areas, especially, and it's very sad. But that's a situation that you've got to live with. That.
Have you really seen Jadon Sancho reach his potential here at Manchester United?
No, we haven't. Well, I don't think so. I think we've been shown glimpses of it at times. Great composure, some good goals. I think the Liverpool goal and stuff like that. There are glimpses, and we've seen him. We know he's a top quality player. But as the manager has said, maybe he's not living right. Maybe his training's not right, or we possibly know his training's not right from what we've heard, and that does transpire to the football pitch, and it's just not been good enough.
I want to go on the Glazers and Sir Jim Ratcliffe. The possibility Sir Jim Ratcliffe's going to come in 25%. He's going to be looking at, by all reports, it's what we see out there, that he's going to be taking over the football side of it. If he's going to take over it, Paul, what is it he needs to do, Sir Jim Ratcliffe?
Well, everyone talks about recruitment. Recruitment is very difficult. It's a difficult thing to get right. Every sign you make is a risk, but it's clear. It's clear. We've signed good players, but a lot of them don't seem to have worked. So I think that'll be the first thing he does. He's talking about a director of football as well, or sporting director, whatever you want to call it, with some experience. That'll be something he'll want to get in place straight away. I just find it difficult to believe that he's going to be left to his own devices, owning 25% of the football club. The Glazers, how are they not going to want to say at the top table when it comes to football decisions? No, obviously you can draw contracts together, of course you can. But if stuff is then happening that they don't like, you're telling me that they're not going to come to the table and have something to say about it? I'm sure they will. I just find it bizarre. Now, it's obviously a stepping stone to him taking the club over permanently, but how long that's going to be, I don't know. And how much time has he got to try and get things right?
You say it's a bizarre situation, someone coming in, having 25%, and there is loads of wriggle room, as they say. Like, for the Glazers to come jumping back in. Surely that doesn't bode well for Erik ten Hag running a football club.
No,
where's his involvement?
I don't know. That's Jim Ratcliffe's decision. I would have thought, wasn't it? On the football side of it, I think. And sometimes you do worry for managers when new owners come into it. They do
staying, going. Well, no, is that a big worry, Paul?
Yeah, I think that's a worry. I think he should start. I like him. I really like him. A brilliant first year with what he had to cope with. Yes, okay, he's had a lot of injuries and the team hasn't gone on from what we expected. But how many times can we keep sacking managers in the second and third year? At some point, we've got to stay with him. And I think this is the right man to stay with. I think he's ruthless. I think he knows what he wants. He's not quite got it yet, but I think eventually he will do.
He's been dealt a bad hand, though, hasn't he, Erik ten Hag, with everything on the field, off the field.
He's coming to a club that's a mess. But with arguments against that, people say, he still spent 400 million. Yeah, but the feeling around this club is not, Tony, you know yourself, the feeling around this club is not good. Going into that ground on a Saturday afternoon, it's not a pleasant experience anymore. And the sooner we get rid of that and people get behind him and start thinking more about the team, start thinking more about the manager, and this club can move forward.
What's the most important thing you would like to see change here at Old Trafford and Manchester United? Difficult question, because there's so many things I know you want changing, but what's the most important?
I just want the team to play good football. I just want it to be entertaining like it always was. I want excitement coming back to the club. Now, everyone talks about the way coaches want to play football, building out from the back and all this kind of stuff. That's not Man United. Man United fans just want entertainment. They want goals. Even if the other team are scoring, so what? We'll score more than them. It just needs to be more freedom around players, I think, to express themselves. And like I said, I think this is the right man in charge. I think he's desperate to play his attacking football. And once he gets the right bodies in to do that, I think we'll be fine.
Well, what you've just heard there, Paul, describe is what Manchester United fans want. And what he's not realising is he's talking on behalf of Manchester United fans, because he is a Manchester United fan, diehard, and it hurts when things don't go right. So, listen, I hope you all enjoyed the time I've had with Paul. Please subscribe, get the like button pressed, and we'll be back with another video as soon as we get Paul back in this chair, because it would be great to have him on every day. Listen, thank you very much for watching. Fully appreciate it, Paul.
Cheers, Top.